What is up, everyone? It's your host, Carlos Ponce here, and we are in the middle of episode 11 of season 2 because there was a season 1 that started in 2022. This is episode 11 of season 2 of Advancio Talks, and we're live. And today we've got Kimberly Wiefling. She is the Silicon Valley Alliance's co-founder with us today, and I will let her introduce herself in a minute. So, if you are just discovering us, welcome to the show. But if you've been here since the beginning, well, you know what we are about. Advancio Talks is where we sit down with the people actually building the future of business and technology, not just talking about it, but doing it. You know, CTOs, founders, the folks making decisions that matter. So whether you're drinking coffee, commuting, or just curious about what's actually happening in the world of biz and tech, stick around. Kimberly's got stories and insights you won't hear anywhere else. So let's jump in. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Carlos. It's great to be here. Appreciate you.
It's my pleasure, not our pleasure, as a matter of fact. So, Kimberly, let's start before we do anything else. You are the star of the show today, so let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you. Who is Kimberly Wiefling? Tell us about your journey. Anything you want to say about yourself for the audience?
I'd like to tell a little bit about my life journey. I started off growing up in the rural Western Pennsylvania, running around in the woods like a wild animal. My dad was a welder. My two younger brothers became welders. If I was a boy, hey, I would have become a welder. But since I was a girl, no, I wasn't going to get, into welding. So I left home the day I turned 18. I joined the U.S. Air Force. So I wanted to be a scientist and I needed money for college. And, my dad didn't have money to send me to college. So I joined the Air Force. I repaired electronics on airplanes. One of them almost crashed into me one day on the way to work. Then I got into college, went 4 years undergraduate, bachelor's degree in physics and chemistry, master's in physics. And then I got a job at Hewlett Packard, 10 years, 7 jobs, 3 different locations doing engineering. Look at me. I'm an engineering girl with a physics background. And then I said, oh, this job security is so boring at HP. I joined a startup and it failed in 1 year. And then another startup, it failed in 1 year. Another startup, boom, .com bust. 3 startups in 3 years, failed. Don't worry, I got a raise and a promotion every time. Now, for the last 25 years, I've been running my own consulting business, most facilitating impossible projects, mostly for Japanese companies. I've worked for over 50 global Japanese companies. They do business in 40, 50, over 100 countries all over the world, work with people from different countries to come together to turn managers into leaders, groups into real teams who can do impossible things together. And 2 years ago, my one climate friend said, if you can do impossible, why don't you help fix the earth? So I said, good, I'm pivoting into corporate sustainability, and that's my journey now. What's next? I don't know.
Well, let's wait and see, right? Because it seems to me that you are full of surprises and you're going to keep surprising us even more in the coming years. So, well, that's quite an impressive background, Kimberly. So, I feel compelled to start in different places at the same time, but unfortunately, we cannot do it because we have a time constraint. But before we jump into the topic of today's conversation, tell us a little bit about you are currently Silicon Valley Alliance's co-founder. So, would you mind sharing with us just a little bit briefly? What is the Silicon Valley Alliances?
Well, I was for many years working through an incredible agent in Tokyo that connected me with 50 different Japanese companies. And I met all these amazing people, co-facilitators and assistants. And we loved working together so much. When that agent disappeared from my professional life, we decided we'd all bound together and we made this website and called ourselves Silicon Valley Alliances, and it's people in the US, Europe, Asia, and Australia who have worked together, and we continue to co-conspire with each other. We all have our own real businesses, but together we are more powerful, stronger, and more incredible than any one of us could be alone. For example, next week I will be working in Frankfurt, Germany with 4 others of my Silicon Valley Alliances colleagues. And I'm so excited to be doing that. Working as a team, we can do much more than we ever could alone.
Wow. Frankfurt, huh?
Yeah.
That's great. You do travel and you do get around. So congratulations on that, Kimberly. Okay, well, today we are going to be covering a very interesting, a very broad and in my opinion, a very intriguing topic because we're going to be shocking. It's going to be shocking because we're going to be talking about shocking business transformation. So from startups, chaos to global scale success. So where do we start, Kimberly? I like to start by asking you a few things. Um,
Can I just mention something, Carlos? The
yeah,
reason
please,
we
by all
talked
means.
about shock is because people would call, I do workshops, facilitating workshops, and sometimes they would call it training. And I'm like, I don't do training. Training doesn't work. I
Uh-huh.
do work shock learning labs that transform things and then be like, look, get you out of your comfort zone, not in the danger zone. And so that's why we started to talk about work shocks.
Wow, word shocks. If Kimberly, if you haven't trademarked it, I
Oh,
will. I will.
go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, okay, here's the first question I have for you is you mentioned I read your information and you mentioned that many business problems are human problems that don't require rocket science. Yet, why do brilliant tech companies keep making the same mistakes over and over again?
That's a great question. Yeah, for many years, I also, as a technology person, physics and chemistry and all that engineering, I did not understand the importance or the value of the human skills. It's what the engineering people I know call touchy feely crap, or soft skills. And
Yeah.
what happens is that we don't get any education on how to communicate with people, teams, leadership, any of that stuff. At least I was in college for 7 years. I had one class on communication, and in that class, I asked the professor, "How can I make people not talk to me?" So, coming from a background of being this kind of shy kid, technical, scientific engineering person, I didn't have those skills, and it is hard to develop sometimes. Now, why don't good, smart, intelligent, well educated people adopt these skills, which are proven to be the biggest causes of failure? Because smart people prefer complicated solutions.
Hmm.
Also, negative people appear smarter, and also people who are really, really brilliant quite often are introverted and they really don't want to do these things. But if you look at the data that I find so compelling came from a MIT Sloan business management study. They studied 70 global business teams, and they found by their own team's report, over 80% of them failed to achieve their team project goals,
Hmm.
and one third of the team said our team is unsuccessful. Now, the top cause was they did not have trust.
Hmm.
And like, who ever thinks of starting a project by building trust? Duh. We never learned that. I don't know. Maybe they teach it now. And the number two was they couldn't communicate effectively, solve problems together, or make decisions together effectively. And then number three and four were kind of combined. They didn't have clear shared goals and vision, and the individual and team goals were not aligned. And then you have to ask yourself, Carlos, whose job is it to make sure a team has clear, shared, aligned goals, effective ways to communicate, solve problems, make decisions, and build strong trust? That is completely a failure of leadership. And we just don't emphasize leadership. We still call people managers.
Hmm.
Who likes to be managed? Raise your hand. I bet nobody's raising their hand, even if they're driving and they want to take one hand off the wheel. No, people don't like to be managed. Manage cows, lead people.
Right, indeed. This. I think this. When I heard the word management or manage, I couldn't. I remember the self-managed organization kind of scenario for a lot of companies in the tech space. and it's kind of controversial because not every company has adopted it, the self-managed organization. I know it's a separate topic, but I just remember that, I've heard great things about self-managed organizations, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I know that. But I just thought of it, remembered it. But now I'm not gonna stray away from my train of thought. So I'm gonna go back to it. So you have, as far as I understand, Kimberly, you have helped companies scale from startup to global 1000. So at what point do most tech companies hit their first scaling wall, and why?
Well, I will say it this way. I have helped companies over a broad range from one person startups to 100,000 people global, but I have not worked with one company through all of those stages from one to
Mhm.
100,000. I have seen companies grow, of course, in various parts of that area. And, in particular, from the one person to the founding team to the 10 or so people. And the hardest thing that people face when they're a startup is, how do I choose co-founders that I'm not going to want to kick out or sue later on, right? The stories of that are pretty famous, right? You got to find someone who shares your values and your
Mhm.
commitment to your purpose and vision. Unfortunately, I don't know, a bunch of founders that I've worked with, they're really afraid to give up power and control. And
Mhm.
then that means if you grow, you doesn't necessarily scale, right? You can get bigger, but if you have to do everything and be responsible and control everything, you can never scale to large heights. So I am working with one organization right now that's trying to go through this grow and scale challenge. And it is exactly that the founder needs to be involved in everything. And it's like, no. Now, the really smart founders, some of my friends have helped. For example, there was one big company that was growing like crazy, and I won't say the name because it's a huge company, but my friend went in and they said, "Here, you please be the COO and take care of running the day-to-day operation and let the founder focus on the vision," because
Mhm.
they don't know how to grow or scale a company operationally.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was like a. Sorry, folks. Just a technicality. It froze for on my end for 2 seconds. Sorry about that. So, so we're talking about scaling and growth challenges, and the way I see it is, especially when a company is growing in technology, it involves people, right? So there's the human element that comes with growth. So you have worked with people from more than 50 countries. So how has remote work changed the game for building effective global technology teams?
Ah, well, I'll tell you, whenever COVID happened, the pandemic happened, we got real serious about virtual. I
Hmm.
was coaching at the Founder Institute. I was ending up coaching startups in Africa, anywhere in the world, right? And also my big global clients, we started converting all of our in-person workshops into all virtual. I mean, I have a 15-day workshop that I was doing over 6 months, like 5 days in Europe, 5 days in the US, 5 days in Asia. We turned that into 80 hours online over 6 months. It was
Wow.
crazy. But when we found at the end of that, yes, it was very successful. And they decided, we really need to meet in person. So they had a follow up kind of reunion. And they all came to Silicon Valley for a few days to take a tour, see Apple and Facebook and Google and all these fancy places you hear about. And when they saw each other, it was so amazing how the warmth, the human connection was so powerful. People were hugging, people were crying. I mean, so there is something that you just can't replace with virtual. Although our virtual workshops, we don't lecture. We got people stand up, run around, grab something, do something, go into a breakout room, do this exercise. We figured out how to make it very interactive. It's still, though, lacking some of the human connection that it's so critical. Like if you spend 20 seconds looking at someone in the eyes, online, it's okay. But in person, it's like, ooh,
Hmm.
it's really intimate. So
Yeah.
there's a lot you can do virtually, and it does make possible some impossible things as far as team formation and working together. I just don't think it's a substitute for in person. So I like the hybrid approach where you have
Mhm.
in person and then you can do virtual and then in person again and reconnect. Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to collaborate with with a training company from the UK, and that's what they did. That's what their approach was, hybrid, like sometimes virtual, sometimes in person. But still, regardless of the setting, whether remote, virtual or in person, uh, there's also another element that comes in play, which is the culture, right? So, for example, when you have people from many countries, many cultures, can you tell us what your framework is for
Oh, yeah.
making culturally diverse engineering teams actually work together?
Yeah. Well, when you have a session of any kind, whether you call it a meeting or a workshop or workshop or whatever you call it, the first thing I like to do is start with a brain opening exercise or an icebreaker. Ideally, one of the participants brings that icebreaker brain opening activity. We say, hey, you're the special day person. When we have our meeting, please come
Mhm.
ready to facilitate some 2, 3, 5, 7 minute thing that will bring people together and support our purpose. And
Mhm.
this kind of what you were talking about, the distributed self managing organizations, this is an example of shared power, shared control. It's like, yeah, I'm the leader and I can share power, share control with other people. So this participant is going to do the icebreaker. And they're also going to choose how long the breaks are and help in other ways. And
Mhm.
that's the first part. And then it's like, let's do a check in. And one of the check ins is like, how are you really? Right? Don't just say good and you good, fine. No. So you get people into smaller groups and have them say, what's going on for you? What's been happening? Tell me how you're feeling really. What do you need? What's not working in your life? Right. And so you
Mhm.
get people to connect on a human level. Again, in the olden days when my dad was going to work, they said, oh, leave your personal life at home. No, that's just not possible. You bring your whole person to the job, and engineers and technical people in particular are not used to talking about things like this. And it's important that they do. So, one of my buddies, Patrick Cowden, he created this wonderful question: how are you feeling really? And then you can sit there and really connect. So, after you do the icebreaker brain opener, you do a little check in and get human connection. Then it's like, okay, why are we here? What's the purpose? If you don't have a purpose, why are we wasting our time? Just another meeting where we agree to meet again? No. So have the purpose clear and then have an agenda, facilitate it in an interactive, engaging, dynamic way that does not allow people to secretly be checking their phones or email. And then
Yeah.
the wrap up is so important too. At the end, it's like, okay, so what? Now what? What is your commitment? What will we do as a result of this if we were absolutely committed to achieving the goals of this session? And then have a closing exciting picture where we might put things like this up. Okay, let's remember it.
Absolutely. The when you mentioned the meeting after meeting for a meeting before a meeting, I thought of the term meaning. I'm just trying to key a word to coin a word, meningitis, probably. I don't
Ah,
know.
meaningitis. Oh yeah. I know some people say I prefer vegetarian meetings, meat less.
Exactly. There you have it. So, all right. So let's see. So that's your framework, and and I also believe that I understand that you specialize in cross cultural teams, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So how do you handle that? Like, for example, when it comes to the actual work to be done, how do you handle the clash between Silicon Valley, the move fast and break things culture, and the more methodical international approaches, like I don't know, maybe in Germany or Japan or some other
Yeah.
places that might be different? How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's really a great question. Well, first of all, I get people to speak global English. It's slower, it's more clear, simple words, short sentences, and more actions than normal, more tone of voice, because a lot of times people are just pretending to understand each other. And I'd like to tell them, I don't talk like this at home. I'm doing it so you can easily understand me. So everybody needs to speak global English, not American English or British English or all this stuff. That's critical because if we pretend to understand each other, we are pretending to work together. And then I do a little exercise with some lemons. I give everyone a lemon and I ask, what are the characteristics of the lemon? And
Use
they
a
say,
lemon, like an actual
actual
lemon?
lemon. Yes, I say, and then we write down, oh, a lemon, it's yellow, it's oval, it's citrus, it's sour, it's got rough edges, it has a bump on the end, blah, blah, blah. So then I ask people to name their lemon and tell the lemon's life story and how this little bump and this bruise and this little thing happened on their lemon. And after they explain it to a partner, I take all their lemons back. And then I put them in a little bag and I throw them on the floor and I say, find your lemon. And they find that lemon and they don't find it because it was yellow, oval, citrus. They find it because of the unique individual characteristics of that lemon. And then we do the same for them as a human. It's called a life journey line. And we draw a diagram of their life, starting at birth, happiness versus time, and we put it all on the wall together and they look at it, and then these say 50 people from 15 different countries look at it and say, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. And that is where we focus, Carlos. What do we share? What is in common? You know, the Hawaiian Islands above the ocean look like they're separate, but underneath, way down, down near the bottom of the ocean, they're all connected. And that is the common ground of human beingness that we also focus on when we bring people together across different countries. Yes,
Mhm.
they do things different ways, but even in the same country, I ask people, raise your hand if you ever have conflict with your partner who has the same language, same culture, same background as you. Oh, yes, it's not because of culture. It's because of human beings have these challenges. And we need to say, what is the benefit of this approach, the Japanese way, the German way, the US way? And when are these approaches valuable? And when can we benefit from a different approach? That's what we look for. The celebrating the differences and using them at the right time for the greater good to achieve that shared purpose beyond profit, that mission that matters. Sorry, long answer, but it's complicated.
Indeed. This is incredibly interesting. So that leads me to the next question because I cannot think of talking or discussing culturally diverse teams and product and things like that without the actual leadership of the organization, which is key in order to be successful. So my question to you is, and I know that I might be probably stepping on a couple of toes here and there who might be listening, but I'm still going to ask the questions. I'm not going to hold myself back. So, what is the most dangerous leadership blind spot you see in fast growing tech companies?
Well, I think it's true just in general of any leadership position, people with power. You know, Dr. Robert Sutton at Stanford University studied very carefully this thing called power poisoning. And he wrote lots of books about things like this. He wrote The No Asshole Rule, The Asshole Survival Guide, Good Boss, Bad Boss, right? And that book actually references my Scrappy Project Management book. And what happens is when you get more and more power or control, like if you're a founder or you're the CEO or you're the top leader of some organization of any size, there is a danger there. The first thing that happens is people give you more positive feedback. Oh
Mhm.
yes, kissing your butt, right? And the next thing is you have less impulse control. So you get mad, you blurt out and you burst out in anger at your people. And they're like, ooh, but they're afraid to combat you because you're the powerful leader. And the other thing is these people who get power poisoning, according to Robert Sutton's research, is they think of their own needs more than others.
Mm-hmm.
and they have lower empathy and they think the rules don't apply to them. And then he asked a really important research question. Do we just promote these jerks or does power change people? And it
Mm-hmm.
turns out power does change people. So if you are a startup founder and you're focusing on control and your power, that's so dangerous. You need to go to a couple of your really close friends and advisors and mentors and say, if I start acting like this, call me on it.
Uh-huh.
Do not let me behave like this and put our whole organization at risk because we are all subject to this power poisoning.
Yeah, yet, and this I've seen in the past, I've witnessed it. Yet a lot of folks, a lot of team mates at every level, for example, at the software development level, at operations, it's not always easy for some people to call their superiors up when they see something that's really they feel that honestly it's not working from their point of view, but they find it hard to call it out to them. So I think it requires a special personality trait or a different mindset, right? It's like, and I know it's might be a work in progress when it comes to corporate culture these days, but we're getting there. I think we're getting close to
Mm.
making everyone aware, teammates aware that they need to do these things. They need to call their leaders out, at least voice their opinions in a respectful manner, of course, but at least voicing their opinions. Because at the end of the day, it's all about teamwork, and if the team doesn't work, no matter how good a leader could be, it's just not going to
Well,
be. It's not going to end well, right?
well, it's so important to create an organizational culture that weaves feedback into the culture. You're absolutely right. You
Right.
can start with the leaders asking for feedback. I have got something called the feedback starfish. In the middle, the top leader comes in and says, "Hey, here's the kind of leader I'm committed to being for you all." And I put that in the middle. And then I make a little starfish with, "Hey, if you were going to help this leader, what advice would you give them? What should they start doing? Stop doing,
Mhm.
do more, do less, continue." And then these 5 areas, and we put post notes. Of course, the leader leaves the room, and we write in block letters with the same color pen on the same color post notes, right? Because the first question most leaders I've worked with in the US ask when I tell them anything negative is, "Who said that?"
Mhm.
So you can do the feedback starfish. But in general, the organization needs to weave into everything they do this culture of feedback, asking what's working, what's not working, what's
Mhm.
missing, what might be changed to work better, what should we start doing, stop doing, do more, do less, continue. Because if you look at the leadership challenge research, 30 years of research from Barry Posner and Jim Kouzes from Santa Clara University, they've got these 30 behaviors of the best leaders in the world. And the one that's the lowest practiced all over the world is asked for feedback.
Mhm.
Why, Carlos? Why don't leaders want to know? Why aren't they curious to ask for feedback from their people?
Because a lot of them just don't think it's necessary. It's very, what a good friend of mine, who recently passed away, he used to say, it's a fiat system. It's a fiat meaning because I say so. Why? Because I say so. Do it because I say so. Period. No questions asked. So I think that's the root of a great amount of problems. So, Kimberly, we're running out of time, and I still have one more question for
Okay.
you. And the last question that I have for you today is this: looking at current trends in technology, in the technology business, and AI, what is the one capability that every company needs to build now to survive the next 5 years?
Well, I'm calling it being an AI augmented human. For example, an
Augmented
AI
what? Augmented.
AI augmented human.
Oh, AI augmented
Right.
human.
So here you are, you're a human, you're a professional, say you're a leader, and you're okay, you're great, you're smart, and you can be smarter if you know how to use this coach in your pocket called AI. If you could just stop, think, organize, and plan before you jump into action. If you
Mhm.
can just ask your little chatbot, hey, I'm feeling a little bit hesitant about this one project. Help me understand how I might feel more confident and how I might develop my leadership more effectively. Or if you ask it, hey, I'm having trouble with Carlos, he's driving me crazy. Help me figure out, assuming positive intent, how we can work together more effectively. Or, oh, my team, it just doesn't seem to be able to get things done. Ask some questions. It's definitely a coach in your pocket. It's a mentor, and you can ask it things you would never have the guts to ask your direct manager, right?
Exactly. There you have it, folks. So, Kimberly, it's been great to have you on the show. And before I encourage you to share some final words of wisdom with the audience, how can people, whoever's interested in your work, your background, and how to get a hold of you, how to reach out, how can people do it?
It's pretty easy. Kimberly Wiefling. I'm the only one on planet Earth. If you search for me on Google search Kimberly Wiefling, rubber chicken, you'll certainly find me. Lots of pictures. And on my websites that you see scrolling below, they have my phone number, my email information. Feel free to reach out. I do live in Silicon Valley, California. My specialty is helping teams achieve what seems impossible and making it merely difficult and eventually inevitable. I've got proof that that works. And I have a methodology that has been proven over decades to help make impossible inevitable. So I really look forward to talking with anybody who would like to do impossible. In particular, my focus now is why don't I help save the planet? So I'm focusing more and more on corporate sustainability so that we
Mhm.
can make being a sustainable corporation more profitable, more successful, financially
Right.
sustainable as well.
Exactly. There you have it. How about Silicon Valley, the Silicon Valley Alliances? How can people get more information on the
So
organization?
SiliconValleyAlliances.com. There's the whole website about that and
It's
about
right there, down below. Is it down below,
yeah,
right?
yeah, there it is. And 24 of my wonderful friends and colleagues all over the planet reach out to us. We have people in the US, Europe, Asia, Australia, and they are world class. And we all share a commitment to making sure we focus on what our clients need and help them, not writing fancy reports like these big, consulting firms. No, we come in and help you actually get it done.
Great. That's great to hear, Kimberly. So, just one more thing before we go. I understand when we were doing the prep off the air that you have a separate website for your consulting practice, your consulting company.
Yeah, I have weefling.com. It tells about my business and some of my past clients. And KimberlyWeefling.com, which is really cool because it has a Kimberly digital twin. And
Okay.
if you want to know what would Kimberly say about a certain thing, you can go and ask it, but be careful because she swears. I tried 4 different times to get a digital twin that would reflect who I really am. And I finally got one who would actually say the F word. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I swear too, but I put myself on mute when I do that. So,
Oh, good idea. I think it has a little asterisk in the F word when it does
yeah,
respond.
yeah, yeah. Well, Kimberly, it's been such a pleasure to have you here today. And I want to invite viewers who are watching now or will be in the future to stay tuned for more conversations with what we call tech luminaries or business people, business executives, entrepreneurs, and a whole array of other professionals in the tech world and the business world who are defining the future. And it's right there, advancio.com/tech talks. So just make bookmark it and just keep an eye on what's coming. We're every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We are going to be surprising you with great conversations, just like the one we had today with Kimberly Wiefling. That being said, Kimberly, it was such a pleasure to have you here. What's that, a rooster?
I have rubber chickens normally, but this time the rooster came, but the chicken's like, no, no, I want to be here. It's my brand, Carlos. I should have chosen more carefully. But yeah, chickens. Go
That,
figure.
that is so cool because, I had I known that you had you were going to do the rubber chicken thing, I would have pulled out my puppets. I have some
Yeah,
puppets.
yeah, that's right. Well, I call him a frequent fryer. But I use the chickens in all of my workshops.
You are my kind of people, Kimberly. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much.
Yeah. So, okay, folks, it's been great. Kimberly, please stay with us as we go off the air. And the rest of you, see you next time right here Wednesday, 11 o'clock next week on Advancio Talks. Until next time.